and welcome. I'm Kimberly Kayler, president of AOE, and I'm here today to spend some time talking a little bit about wellness and how it melds with our corporate organizational world. We're doing this to kick off and celebrate Wellness Month. I have a dear friend and someone I admire greatly with me today, Lacey Nymeyer-John. Lacey, thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Kimberly. Yes, really grateful to be here and to participate in this conversation.
Wonderful. So let me go ahead and introduce Lacey, and then we'll get into some questions. So after competing at an elite level as an NCAA champion swimmer and an Olympic silver medalist, Lacey has spent the past 10 years dedicated to helping people win in all areas of their careers. As an associate coach at the Jacobson Leadership Academy, her experiences working with some of the greatest coaches and athletes in the world give her a unique perspective on what it takes to level up and become the person who can achieve incredible goals. Lacey discovered a passion for leadership in building strong teams during her time with the University of Arizona Athletics and the CATS Student Athlete Development Programs. Go Cats! I am a U of A graduate as well, so I have to add that into the conversation. Lacey created experiential learning opportunities to help students learn and apply leadership principles, improve team culture, and explore transferable skills for success beyond sports. Currently, she's the Director of Alumni Career and Professional Development for the University of Arizona, and she oversees career and mentoring programs to help professionals navigate and manage their careers post-graduation. She excels in applying strategies used for elite athletes to driven professionals looking to make a difference in their roles and in their companies. She has undergraduate and graduate degrees in education from the University of Arizona. So Lacey, once again, welcome.
Thanks, Kimberly. Bear down and go Cats.
Yeah, bear down. So we'll dive into our conversation. My first question is, there's so much talk right now about wellness and how it fits into an organizational's culture, offering to employees. We're seeing it even with those looking for jobs. It's something that they value in an organization in terms of when they're making a choice of who they want to work with and work for. So as an Olympic athlete turned business coach, you have a lot of experience in melding health and wellness together with organizational culture. Why do you think there's such a growth in wellness programs right now?
Yeah, great question. And we are seeing this. I think the pandemic had a huge impact on this shift because it really allowed us to reflect and to pause. So during my swimming career, I had a fantastic coach, Frank Bush, and when you're in the process of choosing a college team, there's many recruiting conversations that you have with coaches, with athletes, and there was one moment in that whole recruiting process that was the aha light bulb moment for me. And that was when Frank Bush told me that, really, I believe in developing people, not swimmers, people. And because as we develop as people, the swimming fast becomes easier. And I didn't quite understand that as an 18-year-old looking to get into college and to progress in my career. But as I've reflected on that statement, I know how true that is, because it's not just in swimming, but it really is our career and our professional lives. The more we can develop as individuals, the core sense of who we are, the better we're going to show up in any arena that we're going to be in, because we are the constant that flows from home to the grocery store to the workplace to whatever the event is, right? And how we show up is critical, but that's how we develop ourselves and how we care for ourselves. And so just like as athletes, in order to optimize performance, right, we have to have the consistent training, right? We have to set those boundaries for ourselves and to make sacrifices based on our values and priorities. And then also value rest and recovery. I can't train, all out at a max aerobic and anaerobic capacity every single day, right? I have to have rest and recovery built in so that when those moments do come and I do need to perform, that my body is ready to do that. And I think that's similar in our career, right? We need to build in those places where we pause, reflect, recharge, so then we do need to hit the gas pedal and make the decisions and show up, that we're able to do that consistently.
Wow, there's about 10 things there that I'd love to jump onto. That were fantastic. I love the recharge and the importance of that. You're very right. If we're all burned out all the time, we can't grow, we can't produce. Not only for organizations but for ourselves. And the other thing that I'm reminded of when you're talking about this, as a yoga teacher, one of the things I say quite often is that my job is not to get you good at yoga. My job is to get you good at life. So being uncomfortable and balancing things and the mind stuff that's going on with what's going on physically, et cetera. So that's fantastic. Wonderful way to kick off our conversation. So too often we think of wellness only related to working out and to nutrition, but wellness also encompasses our stress, our mental well-being. You just talked about the importance of taking that rest and what that looks like. How have you as a coach helped navigate stress? And we're coming out of very stressful times, and hopefully we're coming out of it. But, I think we've just shifted into other stressful times. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, as an athlete, stress is kind of a good thing, right? And we have to understand that stress is not all bad. And oftentimes that's how we grow. Like our muscles they grow because we put stress on them, right? I'm going to continue to increase those demands on my body so that it will change and adapt. And as I care and, give it the proper nutrition, rest, and recovery, it will adapt to those changes, and I'll be able to lift more, swim faster, have a better performance. So, but where is that fine line of being able to have good, healthy stress that's going to help us grow and progress and challenge us in a good way? And where is that line where it becomes too much? And now it's a negative, right? And we see that in athletics all the time. There's training injuries that happen because people are putting too much stress too quickly or at a too high of an intensity, right? That their body wasn't able to adapt to it. And that's where, a coach and those mentors and those people in our lives can help us give perspective on, okay, where are we in this kind of stress continuum? And how do we keep ourselves in the healthy stress and stay away from the unhealthy stress? And so we really look at perspective, right? What is happening in our lives, and are we keeping things in perspective? Simon Sinek has that great question, why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And are we answering that in an intentional way with the decisions that we make, how we structure our day, right? What we're putting on our schedule. And then also, are we putting energy into, things that we can control or things we can't control? And oftentimes our stress levels spike when we are putting our energy into things that we cannot control. Right? I can't control other people's behaviors. I cannot change other people's personalities. Oftentimes, I can't really have control over these external things that are happening around me, but I can control myself, and I can control my attitude and my effort, and those things that are in my control, can I refocus my energy there? And sometimes that helps us with our stress levels.
Fantastic. Is it safe to assume then as an athlete, your coaches and your mentors and others spent as much time, maybe not as much, but a significant amount of time dealing with the mental side of things as well as the physical part?
Oh, yes. And oftentimes when we would get into those sessions, my coach was just fantastic. He would talk to us every week. We would have different meetings, either as a group or one-on-one. And he would say, this is your hardest workout of the week.
Interesting.
I can go and ask you to swim for 3 hours straight, and you'll say, yes, no problem, coach. But when I have you sit down for 45 minutes and really think about, okay, what are the things that I fear? Where are my challenges? Mm-hmm. That's going to be the hardest part.
That's the hard stuff. Gotcha. So what are some tips related to goal setting? So switching gears a little bit, obviously you were very goal centric. I know that you still are. What are some tips in today's day and age, melding health, wellness, or organizational culture related to goal setting?
Right. I think goals are so critical for success, right? They allow us to measure our performance, they measure our progress. And I think as human beings, we like to see progress. We like to see ourselves moving forward. So be able to, have that in some sort of way to measure allows us to pause, give those pats on the back when we need it, or maybe kind of give ourselves the the motivation that we need to get moving either faster or more consistently. But when we think about setting goals, probably everyone's heard the SMART acronym, being specific, making sure they're measurable, attainable, relatable, and timely. But also, I think when those are all good things, but going back to the question of why, right? We need to dream big. We need to keep those, our sights set on the horizon, but we also need to remember that our feet move one step at a time. And so we dream big, but we start small. And don't be afraid to make those shifts as needed, because that journey is going to be long. And there might need to be ways that we need to, sometimes have to step sideways to move forward. And when we go through goal setting and like a coaching standpoint, it's a process. It's not just, hey, this is what I want to do. It's okay, that's awesome. But what do you have to do today to get there? Who do you have to be as a person to achieve that? Because just like in swimming, right? You don't wake up and say, oh, I'm going to be an Olympic medalist, right? Becoming an Olympic medalist is a byproduct of little things that we do every single day. And it was who I, was as a person and who I was as an athlete that helped me have that opportunity to then compete at the highest level and ultimately win at the highest level as well.
It's one of the things I've always admired about you and the conversations I've had with you. Not, obviously you're very successful and you've achieved something that most can't say, being an Olympic medalist, but you very much, it comes out in our conversations that your successes as a person, you're not solely defined as a swimmer. And I think that's really wonderful. And, and it ties very much to goal setting. So the majority of us want to integrate wellness practices into our lives, but navigating change is very, very hard. How can we start the change process and forming new habits that stick? I know that the common belief, or we hear a lot of the time, the whole 40 days is the way to do it. Maybe comment on that, or if you have other tips in order to make changes.
Yeah, I think, we can talk about goal setting. I love goal setting and we can spend a whole lot of time there, but I think when people look at change, what I want to do in the beginning, before we even start the change, is to understand the change process, right? Understand that as we start the journey, there's going to be a lot of energy. It's new, it's fun, you're excited about it. It's going to be very easy, very easy to go fast. Okay. But as we all know, we've all been there, is that sometimes after that kind of newness wears off, you see the reality. It kind of becomes drudgery. You're like, oh, this is the hard part. And it kind of takes this like S curve, right? And you're in this lull of, is it really worth it? Am I really making progress? And then we have to somehow get through that point to really get to the high point where, okay, now I'm feeling competent. I'm seeing change. I'm seeing success, and understand that as you move through that space, you're going to have to go through the process again, because we don't want to stay up here all the time, because you're going to get stale. Right? That's where, we see a lot of complacency, and we see, people getting bored, and they just feel that itch for change, and we have to start this process again. So we understand the process, and then we set up strategies for each step of that process, right? So it's just like swimming. One of my races that I swam was a 200, and it was the 200-meter freestyle. And in the 200, the biggest mistake that you see a lot of athletes do is they go out too fast, because the first 50, it's easy to swim fast. It feels good. You have enough oxygen in your body, right? It's just easy to go fast, and it's easy to really blow your race in that first 50, because then you don't have the oxygen or the energy, right, to finish your race strong. And so again, going through that strategy of, okay, how do we put the governor on, keep focused in the beginning, knowing that this is the process, so that we can finish strong, and to, manage our energy, manage our mindset, and really finish the entire race versus just performing in that first half.
That's wonderful perspective, because you're right. So often we set goals, or we look at change, and we just look at the end game and we don't map it out. So I really appreciate the perspective. So last question for you is, one of the top reasons people are leaving their jobs and organizations is the culture. toxic work environments? How can we better understand our role to creating positive workplace cultures and environments?
Yeah, and I think this becomes full circle with our conversation here, Kimberly, and as we look at wellness, right? One of the things we talked about was control. What can we control in our environment? And again, we can't control people's behaviors, we can't control people's personalities, and oftentimes we don't control what's happening in our workplace. But we do play a part in a positive environment and a positive culture. And we own that by, I love the quote, culture is not what you proclaim or profess, but it's what you practice, it's what you promote, and it's what you permit. And when we look at, okay, in our little space and the way that we can control, whether it's just ourselves or if we have a team that we work with that, it was within the bigger organization or environment, what are we practicing on a daily basis? Are we being positive? Are we giving people grace and generosity when, conflict might happen, right? What are we promoting? What are we highlighting and pouring our energy into in the workplace? And what are we permitting? Again, what's our boundaries? And how do we have tough conversations when things aren't in line with our either personal or organizational values? And I think those are things that we can think about. And again, going back to our goal setting, things we can do on a daily basis that will eventually have, long-term change.
Fantastic. Well, I thank you for sharing your insight today. Really appreciate it. I know everyone will get a lot out of it. And I'll just remind everyone that is watching today that Lacey is a fantastic consultant. So if you're looking for a speaker or someone to come in and work with your teams, she'll do a fantastic job for you. Visit aoeteam.com if you have any feedback or questions. Thank you.